Welcome to Executive Access, your home for real talk with industry leaders. I am your host, Jamie Tazi. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the biggest things that I consistently see in powerful leaders. Powerful leaders are principled and they are responsible. Being principled starts with being extremely clear about your own personal values and convictions and modeling those behaviors in all circumstances, especially when times get really tough. And responsible really starts with seeking to understand first before applying your judgment. There's two things that powerful, principled, and responsible leaders do consistently. They assume best intent, and they do something that I call staying in their own lane. So around assuming best intent, most of the misunderstandings and arguments and distrust really come out of the assumptions that we make. There are facts. These things are observable. They're probably the closest to the truth. And then there's our judgment of those facts. And I rely a lot on my judgment. Your judgments are something that you should feel really strongly about. But you also we need to realize that those are subjective as well. So there's facts and then there's judgment of those facts. When we make a conscious effort to assume best intent in others, it's not only empathetic. After all, when something goes wrong or we're misunderstood, don't we want and expect others to assume best intent in us? So it's assuming best intent in others, it's empathetic, but it also enables us to move into a space of curiosity and openness so that we can start to see things a little bit more broadly than just the issue at hand. We can start to see what's really behind the issue, what's behind the behavior that we're frustrated with, to really understand if there's broader systems issues going on or broader root causes that we should address as leaders. So what does assuming best intent look like? I've really trained myself that every time I see a behavior that I wish wasn't there in another person, something that perplexes me, confuses me, maybe even frustrates me, I say to myself in my head, what would cause this really great, kind person who's trying to do a great job, what would cause this person to act in a way that seems counter to that? Like, what's going on for this person? And again, when I do that, it just opens up the curiosity and I can see things a little bit more broadly. So I'll give you an example. Years ago, I had a couple people on my team, a couple sales reps that were acting, I thought, and I judged in a way that was super disrespectful to one of our partners. I was immediately incredibly frustrated. After all, I was constantly preaching that we need to treat our business partners with the utmost respect. And yet, asking that question of myself, okay, what would cause these two really great, high-performing individuals on my team to act in this way that is so concerning, enabled me to walk into the conversation, suspending my judgment a little bit, right? And what I learned was that although the behavior needed to be addressed and was not appropriate, what was really causing the behavior was an inadvertent issue with our compensation systems that was pitting my sales team against our partners. For one of them to win, the other one had to lose. And so again, we had to address the poor behavior, but really what was more important was for me to address the underlying systems, in this case, a compensation system, to improve the business overall. Suspending judgment, assuming best intent enabled me to get to that understanding, which if I had come in hot around the behavior might never have been uncovered. So assuming good intent, it's highly empathetic as we practice that in our leadership, and it's a powerful, powerful business practice. The second thing that powerful, principled, and responsible leaders do is they do something I call staying in your lane. Staying in your lane is essentially being so connected to your values and principles that you are modeling those in any circumstance, that you are not letting any person or circumstance change the way you act. In other words, I like to say, don't let anybody push you out of your lane. I struggled with this a lot early in my career. I like to think 90% of the time, I was acting according to my principles. I was kind and I was truthful and I was transparent. But when I felt like a colleague was challenging me or coming after me in some way, all of that went out the window. I found myself being snarky. I found myself withholding information, gossiping, damaging the reputation of others, just so that I could win or I thought protect myself. And 100% of the time, as I looked back on those engagements, I felt terrible because I was acting in a way that was so misaligned with my values, and that we pay a price for that. And also, and equally important, I had to admit that in many of those cases, my reputation took a hit as well, or the image that I was trying to protect. And so there was some reputational damage. Not a great way to be. Being truly powerful is reflecting that you stand on your principles and you act in a way that people expect no matter what the circumstances. You know, I saw the most beautiful example with this just a couple of weeks ago. A dear friend of mine was going through a challenging situation. She was a very senior leader in an organization and was let go unexpectedly from the company in a reduction of force. This person expressed to me how disappointed they were, how they didn't feel like they were being treated fairly. They might have even been a little angry. Yet they connected in with one of their core values, something we call running through the tape. And this person said, you know what? I'm going to finish as well as I start. I'm going to run through the tape on this job no matter what. The following week, just a week after she was notified, she showed up for her very last meeting. It was a leadership team meeting. She was engaged. She was collaborating. She was jumping up to the virtual whiteboard and helping the team process. She was showing up in such a high leader, highly principled way. And then she left the meeting. She turned in her company assets and she received 4 text messages from her peers saying, wow, you really impacted me the way you showed up today. We can't believe that you showed up as you always do in such murky and challenging situations. She definitely impacted the rest of those people in that leadership team that day, and she was able to walk out with her head high. That's a principled and responsible leader staying in their lane. So in conclusion, powerful leaders, they're principled and they're responsible. As we close, some things for you to reflect on. Number 1, can you notice when you are judging? Is there any room for assuming good intent in your interactions with others? And can you connect with this idea that the ultimate power move is staying true to your values and not letting anyone push you out of your lane? Please drop a comment. Tell me what you're noticing in your practice. I'd love to hear from you. And please subscribe to receive every episode of The Executive Access. Thank you.